Hello and welcome to this very special video. If you know my channel, if you've watched some of my other videos, you definitely already know who PrinsassJasmine is and what a massive fan of hers I am. I talk about her YouTube channel literally all the time. And this video is not so much a collab with her as it is her graciously inviting me to be part of a huge project that I have been admiring for a really long time now, ever since I found her channel. And she messaged me, I think over 2 weeks ago. Gosh, I finally need to get this voiceover done. And she asked me if I wanted to be a tiny part of this amazing project, which is of course her Gilmore Girls save file. So PrinsassJasmine basically is creating a save file where she creates all the characters from the show Gilmore Girls in The Sims and creates all the relevant builds so that when she's all done, we can download that save and we can play our little Stars Hollow fantasies in The Sims. So I just think that's amazing. And when she asked me if I wanted to contribute to the save, she gave me a bunch of really cool ideas of what I could do. And my favorite one was to create Madeline and Louise. So if you don't know the show Gilmore Girls, basically, just super quick description. It's a show about a mother and daughter. And the daughter, at the beginning of the show, she gets accepted into a very fancy private school because she's a brainiac. And in that school, there's sort of one very important character that's also a reoccurring character on the show and, remains very relevant, I'd say, until the very end. And that is Paris, who PrinsassJasmine, of course, also created in The Sims. So this girl, Paris, and Rory are protagonists. They butt heads a little bit. They're both very competitive academically. And so Paris, at first, isn't really a huge fan of Rory sort of coming into the school and messing with her nerd queen bee status, I suppose. And the show, to introduce Paris to us as a character and to make it obvious to us, what kind of a person she is, what her dynamic is with the rest of the school, they also introduced these two side characters, which are kind of like her little worker bees. So Madeline and Louise, on the one hand, sort of make it obvious to the viewer that, Paris holds like a lot of power in this school because they sort of just go along with everything she says. But they also are meant to sort of contrast her nerdiness with like a more like stereotypical teen girl, only cares about fashion and boys type of personality. Which is very much what Madeline and Louise are about. And so, yeah, they serve as like a comic relief, but also just to kind of, set up this dynamic that is going on in this fancy high school. And so you see me finishing up Madeline's winter outfit here. Of course, most of the show, or most of what we see from these two characters on the show is set in the private school, which is why I also gave them school uniforms for their everyday outfit, or for one of their everyday outfits. And with some of their other outfits, I had to improvise a bit more. There's some episodes where we see them out of school. And there's one episode later on where we actually get to see them in college on spring break, which is what their like swimwear and hot weather outfits are sort of inspired by that episode. But yeah, most of it is just set in the school, and we just see them in their uniforms, which made it a little bit harder to find, I guess, outfits that reflect their sort of like style on the show. But I tried my best. And also with their hairstyles, I'm actually really happy with the one that I chose for Madeline. With Louise, it was a little bit more difficult. I mainly picked this hair because of the middle part, because that's something that she wears a lot on the show. And to me, when I put that hair on the sim, it just instantly made her face look more like Louise from the show. And so that's why I sort of went with that. But you could definitely change it up, or maybe if you find CC that matches that look better, go ahead and change it up. I tried to use minimal CC for these two Sims just because I know that that's what Jasmine also does. She wants her save to be accessible to as many people as possible, of course. And so I saw in some of her CAS videos for the save file, and also just her videos in general, that she uses custom content eyelashes. But otherwise, keeps the CC to a minimum. And so that's what I did with these Sims as well. Everything on them is custom content free except for the eyelashes. So you should be able to put them in your game and play with them, no problem. No custom content needed. But yeah, to their personalities, the traits that you see on screen right now are not the ones that I ended up giving them. On the show, at first, when I thought about it, it was sort of hard for me to tell their personalities apart because they're always together and they always sort of just serve as like these side characters who are meant to contrast Rory and Paris. But when you pay more attention to their dynamic, and I rewatched some of the episodes, you notice that Madeline is a lot more innocent, and she doesn't really understand why they mess with Rory so much. She just sort of goes along with it because that's what her friends are doing. Whereas Louise is a little more confident and just not as naive, and also not as friendly, I guess, as Madeline is, just not as innocent. And so for Madeline, I went with the friend of the world aspiration because obviously she cares a lot about, her friends and about being popular. And then I gave her the outgoing and cheerful traits because I felt like that really matched what we see of her personality on the show, which again is not a lot. It's very one-sided, but that's what I came up with. And then for Louise, I went with the serial romantic aspiration because it's sort of a running gag on the show that both of the girls have dates every weekend. They have a date to every party. All they ever do is flirt with boys. That's all they care about. Again, the impression that we get of them is very superficial. The show never really digs deep into what their actual personalities are, what they truly care about in life. So that's all that we see on the show, and so that's all that I sort of reflected in their personalities as these Sims. And then I went with the self-assured and materialistic trait for Louise. Because what we know is that she cares about fashion a lot, but I couldn't really find a trait to reflect that in The Sims, which, now that I think about it, it's kind of weird. Why isn't that a trait? Create a Sim is such a big part of the game. Wouldn't it make sense that there would be a trait to sort of reflect a Sim being fashionable or caring about style? But whatever, we don't have one. And so I went with materialistic instead because she obviously likes shopping and stuff. So yeah, that was my thought process creating these two girls. Of course, again, I highly encourage you to check out PrinsassJasmine on YouTube and check out her amazing Gilmore Girls content. And with that, I think that is it for me for this video. Stay tuned for screenshots at the end. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'm going to talk to you soon. Bye!